Um, just to leave that somewhat chaotic level back to the placid music of the main menu, I'm just going to show you a couple other features of the game in addition to the main level-based mode where you're sort of unlocking levels in classic downloadable game style. There's also an endless mode. In this case, I've unlocked all the characters, but the characters in this unlock time by time. This is the other character in the game, Professor Stroganoff, who's Belinda Blissful's partner. And he has simulations of each of the characters where you can practice and begin training. And this is a sort of like a different kind of mode. You're not trying to clear the screen. You're just seeing how long you can go. There is a gunk meter at the bottom of the screen, which gradually fills up as more gunk is dropped on the screen, and the levels get progressively harder and harder as you go through time playing them. So that's a sort of a different kind of mode that offers a different kind of challenge. You get a high score based on how long you can play. The only other aspect I wanted to show of this game is the Dictionary. So as you play, you oh look, they're not all unlocked. But I can show some of them. This is the Dictionary. So as you go through the game in normal mode, you unlock some of these ticks, and there's a sort of a guide to them, and or more kind of narrative description talking about the aspects of your psyche that the ticks represent. So these are all the ticks that are unlocked right now. There's sort of beauty shots of these really nicely designed characters. And that is it. So okay, I just want to be sure to have time for the rest of there also are some narrative scenes. This is what happens when you finish your first week. There should be music here. This is a sort of a beta version of the game, so we would have music here. So there's 4 of these cutscenes, and they all end in a choice. So there's a little bit of narrative interactivity. What should I choose? Rose hips or chrysanthemum? Rose hips. It is. You might experience a few minor side effects. So they're a little bit funnier with music. They build to a strange climax at the end of the game. I guess you're just going to have to play out of your mind to figure out what strange, mysterious secrets lie behind the veil. Okay, so now Charles, if you want to stand over here, I'll just get this thing loaded up.
So this game went through a large number of iterations. From the very beginning, I think the initial idea was just to use sort of a line drawing mechanic, and everyone found it really, really fun and satisfying, but we really had no idea how to go about using it in a game. So what we have here is the very first prototype of this game, which was actually done before I came onto the project. And it's obviously not in motion, it's hard to see what's going on, but in this version you would actually you'd click on a creature and then guide him into the little tree stump home. And this obviously had no narrative at all at this point. And so it was sort of an initial first test of just, is it fun to sort of draw lines on the screen? And the answer is yes, hopefully.
Yeah, thanks.
So this is sort of just a fleshed out version of that same prototype. So as you can see, the art's changed a little bit. There's actually a lot of things going on the screen here that are not obvious. The little hot dogs were an initial idea of how to make the creatures interact with the world. So they would be attracted to the hot dogs and eat them. And if they ate all the hot dogs, then you would lose the level. The little sort of ink spot looking things were an initial attempt at the idea of cleaning up the brain, which actually completely disappeared and is not related to the gunk mechanic that went into the final version of the game, although it's sort of narratively similar. And here, once again, you're clicking on creatures and moving towards the traps. So here we see one of the first very different ones where you're actually clicking on traps and going out to creatures. And the little diamond in the middle is a gem that you have to loop around that's sort of similar to Gunk, but not really very much so. So one thing that's clear if you can see the picture at all is that the lines there's a lot of lines on the screen at any given time. And so lines stayed on the screen for a very long time in this iteration. And the theory was that as you were drawing lines, you'd be creating obstacles for yourself to then deal with later on. But for various reasons, it wasn't really very satisfying to build your own obstacles and then get rid of them. It wasn't, trust me. So in here we have something very close to the final version. This is a sort of enhanced version of the screen you saw before with sort of more final art. The big black spot in the top right-hand corner was sort of it was a pre-Gunk attempt at making the explosions of the creatures meaningful. And in this case, you would lose if you got too many of them, but once again, for various reasons, that didn't work very well. And also at this point, the win condition was to get a certain number of creatures by within the time limit. And so here we have what became pretty much exactly the same form, the final version of the game that you just saw. As you can see, I mean, everything is more or less the same. The Gunk here is in the final version that you just saw. So, yeah, that's about it.
Thanks, Charles. So quickly, we have maybe just a few minutes left. I'm going to go through some of the visual designs that Jiyun, who's sitting in the front row, did. I mean, we went through a lot of visual back and forth with Curious and within our own visual design team, just to show the evolution of some of the negatics. We could have focused on other aspects of the game. I just found some of these. So there's initially a lot of brainstorming, sort of visual brainstorming, trying to think about the kind of style that we wanted for the game. There was a lot of work done on paper and on the computer. We're actually cutting things out, printing them out, rearranging them into groups, seeing what personalities were suggested, even as we were trying to figure out what the core mechanic of the game was. In this case, that eclectic character that changes color, you can see how it evolved a little bit, and then this became it. This is actually pretty close to the final version of that character. The 5 basic creatures, ones without special powers, again, sort of evolved, exploring a kind of design vocabulary with them, seeing how similar were they, how different, and they evolved into these as sort of basic shapes for the creatures with the 5 colors.